Welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at tonight's 8-game slate, and it's not a pretty one. It's also a wet one. But overall, I mean, there are some possible options here.
Definitely. We're recording this in the morning. I'm a very grumpy man right now. I have not had my coffee. So let's get through this, and hopefully I'll be smiling by the end.
Diving right into catcher, and it's an ugly night behind the dish. And I mean, luckily on DraftKings, no one's priced over 3,700 outside of Brian McCann, who has a lefty-lefty matchup in Chase. I don't mind Wellington Castillo 3,400. The Yankees are rolling out Chad Green, a rookie right-hander, making his debut. Castillo 3,400 catches my eye because he's hit right-handers well during his time in Arizona.
Yeah, no, I like that call. I think Arizona has another nice matchup, which I don't know if I'm just purely biased at this point, but I do think that's a good matchup for him. I like Grandal in that sort of range, and I think you're really just looking at those three at the top. I mean, unless you really want to pay down or something, but I think with the way salary kind of works out tonight, you have a lot of room for error in terms of the salary. So paying up a little tiny bit here kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one more kind of maybe sneaky guy is Carlos Ruiz, if he's hitting cleanup again. When lefties have been on the hill, you've seen catchers like Rupp and Ruiz hit cleanup for Philly. Could be interesting just because Ruiz has handled lefties pretty well in his career.
Right. And I think this Pirate stack's definitely intriguing. So Francisco Cervelli, definitely in play, 3,100 here. So I'm also looking at Tyler Flowers, which you never really look at Braves, but I think the price is cheap enough where if you are actually looking for a punt here, he's kind of in play.
Mm-hmm. Looking at first base and Paul Goldschmidt, I mean, any other night, I think he'd be coming as a top option. I mean, he still should get relatively high ownership tonight just because of the matchup. They're at home, but it's been struggling this season, hitting 222. I think his price tag is still easy to kind of fit in on this slate. I don't mind him. But Miguel Cabrera, 3,900 against a rookie right-hander at home kind of catches my eye a little bit more.
Yeah, no, I like that call. I think we can only go to the well so many times with Goldschmidt before we actually need to see him turn it around before we start playing him again. But he is in a good spot, but I do like Cabrera as well. I think that's a good call, and with price considered, I think that's probably worth it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're looking – Goldschmidt is kind of a strict GPP play at this point. I mean, I know the prices come down a bit, but we're just going to see that production.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, we kind of worked around the two of the main guys in this. It looks like the Red Sox game, it might get rained out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's some heavy rain. I mean, obviously, certainly in play against Rodon Ventura, the way they're swinging the bats, if that game was to kind of clear up. I have no problem paying up for Ortiz at that price if that game gets in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do like Adrian Gonzalez against Shoemaker. I think that's a good matchup for him. I believe Shoemaker has a 316 WOBA since 2015 against lefties. So I think that's a pretty intriguing spot for Adrian.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Dodgers team, I know the way Schumacher hands out those home runs, they could be all kind of certainly in play today. Mm-hmm. And kind of another cheap Pirates guy, John Jaso, 3,500 against Williams Perez. I know you like the Pirates as a stack tonight.
Yeah.
Perez, 373 WOBA allowed since 2014, two lefties. Jaso and Cervelli, kind of those cheap options that then it gets more expensive with those outfielders. So they're kind of there for salary relief, and they build into that full-on stack.
Right. Yeah, I like that 1 through 5 there. I think it kind of makes it reasonable by the end when you average out all the salaries together. So definitely looking at there. What are we doing with this Toronto team? Because we're seeing Edwin Encarnacion sitting there, sort of mid-range, not too expensive. But after what happened yesterday, are we sort of avoiding them, or how do you usually play these situations?
I mean, I'm looking at one. I'm curious to see what news comes out throughout the day to see where we're headed as far as the whole brawl thing goes.
Mhm.
and seeing who shapes up in the lineup or not. Still an over-under of 8, but in Rogers Center with two lefties on the hill is relatively low from what we've seen in the past. I'm kind of treating this game as a GPP only. I think on both sides. I
Yeah,
mean, certainly in play at their price tags.
yeah, and I was gonna say this is the cheapest I've seen Encarnacion in a while, so definitely in play as at least a standalone guy. But who knows with Jose Batista right now? That was something else.
Yeah, that was a wild. If you somehow have missed that, go on the internet and just type in Jose, and I guarantee you, Odor punch in the face will like pop up next to it right away.
Yeah, if you like fell into a coma early afternoon yesterday and we're the first thing, which thank you so much if we're the first thing, you need to go see this. And then if you go on Twitter, the memes are flowing like champagne after a championship.
Yeah.
So back to baseball for a second. Justin Bour, I think, is in play. Marlins in play against uh, this Phillies team for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Eichhoff really struggles with lefties. 371 will allowed, big 1.51 runs per 9. So I'm definitely with you. Bour, great call there. And once again, I mean, fairly cheap options you can go with tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Second base, and I like Gene Segura coming up top again. 4,200, just continues to produce. Coming off an 0 for 4 day yesterday, but still hitting right around 300 over the last 10. I mean, in this ballpark, I mean, the way he's hitting the ball, I think I have no option but to kind of fit him, and I think he works into a nice Arizona stack again.
Yeah, again, he's just been solid this year, unlike Goldschmidt. I think he's becoming more of a standalone play right now than Goldschmidt is, just based on price considered. So I think he's always in play for me unless it's an ace, and this is obviously not an ace. So yeah, I like that call.
And I think I like him more than, I mean, they've kind of priced Utley up a bit. It just makes it easy to go Segura in that top tier, just because of the ballpark factors and the matchup there.
Definitely. I do think Utley's intriguing with that matchup, but yeah, I do like Segura obviously as the top guy, other than Pedroia there, but we already talked about that.
Yeah, and I think Utley's kind of in my lineups if I'm only kind of doing a Dodgers stack there. I think Segura is kind of my favorite play, who will work into various lineups for me.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then Dietrich down low, 3,500. We've talked about those Marlins lefties against Eichhoff, and that's far too cheap for him. Should be hitting leadoff again. He's my favorite cash game option, kind of price considered.
Yeah, kind of a rough day at second. So I do like that call. And other than Starlin Castro, a little cheaper, it's looking pretty bare down there.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, I don't think you even need to go as lower than Castro. I mean, I think Castro's kind of a sneaky play tonight. I'm hoping he gets some low ownership against the lefty there and Chase, because he's shown some pop this season. Third base here, and you got three third basemen all facing lefties who are all quality against left-handers. Donaldson, Longoria, Beltre, all the same price tag, and it's kind of like, all right, here we go. Which one's going to go off? And I still think I'm going to lean towards Donaldson there. I think.
Yeah, and again, I think they've all underperformed a tiny bit this year in terms of expectations. But yeah, I'm leaning Donaldson if I have to make the choice here. Obviously, all three have upside, but yeah, definitely leaning Donaldson in that range.
Yeah, I think Longoria kind of comes in as a close second. Beltre, I definitely don't mind. I just hate the ballpark out there in Oakland.
He's tournament upside. He's not necessarily as safe or as high a floor as those guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, Martin Prado, 3,600, I like a lot. He just kind of continues to be just that solid producer. I mean, hitting 375 over the last 10 and hitting up in the top of the order. I mean, I'll plug him in all day.
Absolutely. Yep. I like that. Again, Dietrich down there. He's third base available, and then Justin Turner again. I like this Dodger stack tonight. So if you're looking at that, I think you play him. I actually think he has standalone value at his price.
Yeah, especially with the home run proneness of Schumacher there.
Yeah, definitely.
And outside of that, I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, you could look at Castellanos, who's been swinging the bat well. With his power, Barrios has shown some problems giving up the long ball. I think he's kind of an interesting GPP option as well.
8-game slates are certainly different than 15-game slates, huh?
It's a little more concentrated.
It is certainly a different ball game.
Yeah. Looking at shortstop here, and we talked about the Boston game. Bogart's your top priced option.
Obviously,
Seager kind of makes it a little easier to spin down. I mean, he is in the midst of a hot streak, 2 homers last night, 3 in the last 2 games. Also hitting 385 in that span. So against Schumacher, we've talked about him. I think Seager hitting second's my favorite shortstop option if I'm paying up, which I probably am.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I lean Bogarts, but if he's taken out of the picture, I'm definitely with you there. And I mean, beyond that, I feel like he's kind of on an island where you really want to pay up for him there. I don't really see many options directly below him that really appeal to me, like he appeals to me. So even though he's priced at least 600 higher than pretty much everyone on the slate, I still think he's worth it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tulo, ever since we kind of been bashing him a little bit and making fun, he's slowly gone off in this series. And I'm curious to see his ownership because his prices come down. Obviously, Smiley's got a higher strikeout rate than most of those Texas guys he faced. So I'm curious to see how he does tonight. I think it's going to be one of those tournament plays where he's going to be popular, but I think it's going to kind of pay off fading. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I think I'm going to fade a lot of Tulo tonight.
I think
go elsewhere.
I think I am too. It's a tough matchup, and we'll see. I mean, he is turning it around, so that is a good thing for future games. But I just don't like this matchup for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If you kind of want to get different with that Pirates lineup, Jung Ho Kang, I like him a lot against Williams Perez, 3,600, and it should be in a good spot to claim some RBIs. I mean, hitting 6 in that lineup's pretty favorable.
Definitely. And then Heckvaria, always cheap for that Marlins team. So if you're really looking, 2,600.
Yeah. Moving to outfield here. And I mean, obviously, I think the Pirates are kind of your top guys to pay up for, but I really like Mike Trout tonight at 4,700. The more I'm looking into this, Maeda is starting to kind of turn it down a little bit from where his hot start was. Maeda can extremely accurate and keeps the ball down, which is exactly where Trout likes it. And I think that's going to be something that you're going to see tonight. And I'm a big fan of Trout tonight. Yeah,
I think that's a fair call, especially considering he's pretty cheap for Mike Trout, I'd say. These outfielders in general, I feel like you can pay up for him tonight, even as standalone plays. Even if you're going a different direction, a non-Pittsburgh stack, I feel like you could still try to fit a Marte or McCutchen in there, and it could work. Especially with the pitching. I mean, there's over 10K options, but it's not like there's that 12 or 13K guy tonight. So I think salaries are pretty reasonable here. So yeah, I like the Mike Trout. I mean, I'm always okay to go down that Giancarlo Stanton sort of path again. And then Marte and McCutchen, I think they're all in play. If I were to pick one, I'd probably go with Trout too. But McCutchen a close second.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think with the names we've mentioned as far as value in the infield, you can completely pay up for all 3 outfield spots.
Yeah.
And feel fine with guys like Dietrich, Turner in the infield, Gonzalez, and Cabrera. I mean, it's just you can kind of make a pretty solid lineup of high-priced outfielders.
Definitely.
And I like Yelich there. We've talked about the Marlins guys, Polanco as well. And I think if you spin down a little bit, Yasiel Puig, 3,800 kind of intrigues me. I know he's been struggling, but I think in this matchup, I'm looking for him to kind of go off as a GPP play tonight.
That's fair. I like that call, especially if you're doing something with the Dodgers. That's a different way to make your lineup different for sure. I'm okay with Ian Desmond. He's been doing really well lately. I like that matchup. I don't know.
Below that,
I just feel like the move in general in terms of roster construction is probably to pay up. There are some options down here. I'm not saying that, but Chris Davis, I think, is intriguing against Holland. I think there's some home run pop there. Actually, I think a few of these A's, Billy Burns as well. But yeah, I don't know. What's your perspective on this?
Yeah, I'm in similar thinking to you. I mean, there's not a lot below Yasiel Puig that I like, and if Bautista even plays 3,700, that just seems to be about as low as I'm going to go, because I just feel like I'm going to pay down at the infield spots for the most part, you know, in my non-stacking type lineups, and just pay up for outfielding because the top options are in great spots, and there's some great value in the infield.
Right.
So I definitely agree. I can't find much lower that I'm completely in love with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to wrap things up with the DK Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.